What were some of your influences growing up that contributed to your radical political perspective and you choosing your mate?
I would have to say the training that I received from my parents and the model that I saw in their relationship. When we were growing up, our family went to First AME Zion Church, and the A stands for African Methodist Episcopal Zion Church. And I said, Mommy, why do we have to go to the African church? In my ignorance and not yet understanding and embracing all of my culture. And she explained to me, our culture is a great culture. We're an African people. Jesus Christ is African. My father always said, yes, it's in the Bible. You can find it in the Bible, and surely it's in the Bible where it talks about his bronze skin and his woolly hair and his feet of brass. So it's a biblical foundation there. And the model that I saw in my parents of their relationship, how they always came together, especially around issues regarding their children. They were a united front. They came out, they were always united on what they were going to do. They battled at home to get to that point of unity, but they were always united in what they were going to do. So the traditions that were instilled in me through a spiritual basis with my church and the model that I saw in my parents, I would say that those are the things that influenced me in my Africanness and grounded me in my Africanness and presented the model for me of what I wanted to see in a relationship. Money that was designed to prevent children from getting into the prison pipeline system, and taking that money out of the alternatives to detention programs and shifting it now with no cap to those institutions that we fought so diligently and hard against through the Rockefeller drug laws, to say that we've got to be able to put a cap on that, and we've got to be able to provide programs locally that keep our children out of those facilities. And I think that this is counter to what we've said we needed to do.
Well, for me, living on the Lower East Side of Manhattan, I had the fortunate opportunity to meet members of the Black Panther Party. And when they used to come down to the Lower East Side, actually I used to debate and argue with them about revolution, how do you make it happen. The Black Panther Party influenced my life tremendously. I was able to learn a lot of political history. We had to take political education classes. You couldn't just join the Panthers because you liked the uniform. You had to be educated. So there's a lot of books that we had to read. There's a lot of leaders around the world that I was taught about that made revolution around the world, from Che Guevara to Fidel Castro, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, Sekou Touré, Julius Nyerere of Tanzania, some of these revolutionary leaders. So I got into that heavily, and of course Malcolm X, Patrice Lumumba, and we studied a lot. And by studying a lot and realizing what an oppressed people have to do in order to be free, it turned me so-called radical, just meaning getting to the root of the problem and not just symptomology, not just trying to do things to patch up things, but to radically alter things. So that made me look for a radical mate. And I was fortunate enough to find one in my lovely wife, Inez Barron.
What specifically about American culture made you want to take a new perspective on marriage?
When I saw the la-di-da and they lived happily ever presentations that we saw on TV, and realized that that's not the reality of what it takes for a marriage to be successful, I decided I would need to stop and to analyze, well, what's important? You know, the material things, they are not the priority. What's the priority is the relationship, the respect, the love, and the coming together, the communications, and the common purpose and longevity of going over the hurdles and coming past that. I asked God to bless me with the person that would be right for me. And Charles has been consistent from the time that I met him. That's a part of what impressed me and attracted me to him, his boldness. He was very much a part of the African People's Christian Organization and the Black United Front, and was their spokesperson going out into different organizations and different events. The same demeanor that he had then is what he transitioned into the city council. There was no difference. It was just moving along a spectrum. So it presented for me a model of how I can conduct myself and be productive in the state assembly, following what it is that he's done so successfully here in the city council.
If we keep the promise, the power is in our hands to say no to a budget that will gladly build Yankee Stadium, that will gladly build the Met Stadium, that will gladly give Bracknell money, but when it comes to our children, then they don't have money to keep children first. That's hypocritical. Stop shutting down firehouses, shutting down hospitals, shutting down daycare centers, telling us we got to tighten our belts, and now you have the nerve with an $18 billion school budget, a $60 billion city budget, to say no to the children. It's time for us not to reach out our hands to the mayor, but to close your fists and let's stick together and say no to a budget that's not money for our children.
What are some of the things that you achieved because of your radical political perspective?
Well, you know, when you get into any arena, whatever we do as an African people, whether you're a doctor, a lawyer, an elected official, a minister, you should have an Afrocentric, you should have a black conscious approach to it and a radical approach to it, meaning getting to the root of things. So I think what benefited me when I came into City Hall and got into the electoral arena and said unequivocally, I'm not a former Black Panther, an ex-Black Panther, I'm still a Black Panther to my heart. Take off the X, because the Black Panther Party wanted the same thing that we're fighting for right now in the City Council: food, shelter, housing, clothing, and equal opportunity to advance in society, an end to police brutality. We wanted an exemption from the military service because nobody abroad called us the N-word. We're being called that here. Right. So if we're going to fight somewhere, we're going to fight right here. And these are the things that the Black Panthers wanted. See, I want the message to go out there. You can be black, conscious, and radical, and true to an African tradition of no fear, but being bold and standing up to people and deliver. I'm the #1 council member in Brooklyn and bringing in affordable housing to the district. I'm talking about, can you imagine that going, looking for an apartment, and you can make $25,000, $35,000, $40,000 a year, get a 1-bedroom for $700, a studio for $700, a 1-bedroom for $800, a 2-bedroom for $900, and a 3-bedroom from $900 to $1,100. Where in the city can that happen? It happens in East New York. We are the #1 in bringing new schools in our district, 2 new $80 million schools. I've renovated 3 parks out of my city council budget. Linden Park, that we now call Sonny Carson Park, $3.6 million. Venable Park, $8.4 million. And Brownsville Recreation Centers Park, $3.3 million. And we were able to be chair of the Higher Education Committee for 8 years and bring in scholarships, fight with CUNY students for tuition and bringing the textbook prices down and have rentals for textbooks. So we've done a lot. And I'm not even naming all of this stuff because we just don't have time for that. So we were able to be radical and get elected, to be black and conscious and deliver after getting elected in a climate where blacks are trying to be liberal or conservative, and neither is really delivering to our people, Republican or Democratic, post-racial society. Nonsense. That doesn't exist. Right. Racism permeates every institution in this country. So we were able to be radical, getting to the root, be black conscious, not afraid to say it, and still get elected and deliver.
Just go.